Guys, we're here at the Daytona Infield at Bike Week with Christian Travert from EMC. You probably saw the last couple of videos where we did the bagger install with their shocks with their remote adjusters. These are the gold anodized adjusters. I told you they came in different colors. We also have a set of shocks here for the Sportster, and Christian's going to give you the technical rundown on these himself, right from the guy who designed the shocks. Christian, thanks for coming down to see us today. Really appreciate it.
Nice to meet you guys.
He's a veteran of Daytona. Is this your 30th year at Bike Week?
Something like
1995
this.
was your first year.
95, 90,
yeah, he's been here as long as I have. And let me show you these shocks here because they're absolutely beautiful. Packaging is real nice. These are the Sportster 14-inch. These are the shocks that you want to have if you're going to be doing any stunt riding, any drifter cross, or any aggressive riding on the street. And we're going to compare them with the Legends side by side, which I have on the bike right now. So come around here and I'll show you. Now, Legends were, in my opinion, the beefiest looking shock on the market. But if you look closely, they kind of pale in comparison to the EMCs. The shock body is puny compared to the EMC. This is the largest shock body on the market. It's a 2-inch shock body. This is made out of 775 T6 aluminum. And the spring's made by Ibach. And there's some really cool technical things that I want to have Christian explain directly because I'm still learning myself why these are. But some of the things you notice right off the bat, the much larger bumper on the Legend shock, and that's there for a reason because these will bottom out quicker, I'm pretty sure. And if you look at the shock shaft on the Legend, it looks really puny compared to the shock shaft. It's much smaller, and the shock body's much smaller. You can get the EMCs anodized gold, anodized black, anodized silver. We can do anything you want as far as the colors if you want to match the combination of your bike. Even the decals, we can even change the color on the decals. We do that in-house. We actually did these in-house on the Legends, but we also have a set of Öhlins over here, and we'll compare this to. But the first thing you'll notice is the two high and low speed adjusters up at the top here. And Christian, take it away. Give us a rundown why this is the best shock on the market.
So it's a new technology in such a way that a shock, what do you want is laminate the oil, so the braking effect of the suspension movement is done by oil going through small hole. So it slow down all the process of all the absorption of the shock on the road, the speed bump and all that. So when you do this and you compress, you go inside the hole, the oil gets compressed by the piston inside. But when you rebound, now you're going to suck the oil through the same piston. And that creates a problem called cavitation. Why? Because it's like sucking something and you create vacuum. Now, when you create the vacuum, your piston, your valve are working in nothing, emptiness. It's a mix of oil, but also vacuum. That means the valve doesn't work. So to compensate for that, what do? Everybody find out that if you pressurize the shock and you put gas in it with 150, 160 PSI, you are pushing the oil to stay stuck against that piston to get away from cavitation. So it works, but it brings another problem. It locks the seals because now they are under pressure. Now the shock have to fight that pressure to move up and down, which means you lose a little bit of comfort because on a small bump on the road, the shock doesn't work very well. It's your tire who's going to take the load. What we do here is completely different in such a way that the shocks is not pressurized. So there is gas, it's separated from the oil in the bag, in a bladder, so they don't mix, but they're not pressurized. So everything is very free, which means that if, for instance, we remove this spring and we compare the two, this one goes up and down very easily, meaning it will do the job even with a small, bump on the road. This one won't. So
I was going out until 2 o'clock in the morning last night.
So by doing this, we laminate the oil not through the piston, but in the shock of the head. That means that going up or down, the lamination, the absorption of the shocks are done here. And you have a way better control than just here or there. Because the two valves here are working on different channels. The big difference with this system is one channel does not affect the other one. So you can have one very loose and the other one very firm. They won't affect each other. So you really can adjust the shocks the way you want.
one of those is high speed and one of those is low speed. That's another big difference.
Yes.
Is there is no high or low speed adjustment on the Öhlins or the Legend. You only have one adjustment. And if you're hitting let's say you hit one of these speed bumps out here at 40 miles an hour, you don't know it's there. You can, if there are speed bumps on the track that you're racing on, or if you're doing drifter crossing, you're doing jumps, you can adjust your high speed to be stiffer and your low speed to be softer, so you can still have the shock move and compress and give you traction around the corners. But when you get the big hit, you can make it stiffer. So
yeah, we can differentiate them by one for the comfort and one for the bad hole on the road, you know, the pothole.
So it's a completely different design. There is a little oil weepage already on these Legends. I've only had them on the bike for a few weeks. Is that because of the compression, the 150 PSI, you think?
Well, you have pressure pushing on the oil.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but yeah.
Because there's there is one pressure bladder in here, right?
It's not pressurized.
It's not
a bladder that separates the oil from the gas.
Okay, so the gas, there is a gas bladder,
yes,
right?
the gas is here for one reason only.
Yeah.
It's when this shock becomes smaller,
Yeah.
this rod goes in.
Yep.
When this rod goes in, you need to find the room inside. If it's full of oil and you have no bladder, then it can go. So you have a bag full of gas, and when this goes in, that bladder will compress. And when the shock comes back, that bladder will reopen. So that change the volume of oil, not the volume of oil, but change the volume inside from full volume or smaller volume when the rod is completely in.
If you need to rewind this a couple times to catch that, that's okay. I'm not an engineer, I'm a rider, and I know what works. So, and Tyler is a videographer, so we're actually gonna hook up a 360 cam and go down Reservoir Road and show how this shock reacts compared to the Legends in a video down the road. So stay tuned for that.
So also we have a quick adjuster with, you know, step on the spring, so you can easily and quickly adjust your spring. And this doesn't undo itself by, you know, this system, you know, by hand.
You can actually twist it.
Yes.
See?
So with the vibration, you can have a nice setting. 300 miles later, your setting change because this can just with vibration change.
See how much the shock moves to? You have a different system here. Can you explain? And I think you bought some parts to
Yeah,
show.
so it's a ball joint, so it's not rubber.
Yeah.
Like on the stock OEM shocks, you have a rubber mount. So what happened with the rubber mount is that the first movement of the wheel, it's not the shock who's working, it's rubber.
Yeah.
So you're really sitting on rubber mount. And that's not good because a rubber is an elastic, so there is no absorption. Here we have SKF, that's the only one we use because they last forever. So we have a SKF branded ball joint. We have two spacers that are on each shocks, like for this instance, it's a Sportster. You receive the shock, it's ready to go. You don't have to deal with spacers. Take this one out, put this one in, good to go. And we have O-rings. Why we have O-rings? It's because what's gonna kill a ball joint like this is the dirt and dust that's gonna be captured and stay inside. We captured everything with those two spacers, and we have an O-ring here that keep the dirt to go inside. So we still have a movement, but it's sealed. That's not the case here.
So for performance, it's the best performing shock on the market. And as far as longevity, it's by far the best longevity because it doesn't have that gas pressurized seal, which is going to leak. And that's the problem with some of the other brands that are out there. So in fact, you had one shock, one of your clients, a lot of your clients race. I've heard that you've won over 500 championships overseas. Is that correct?
We have, since for the last 25, 30 years, we won, I don't know, 400 or 500 championships races
in
all over.
The Paris to Dakar rally specifically, I was there a couple years ago. If you follow the channel, I was out there with Motul, and it is brutal. I mean, these shocks are getting sandblasted literally for the entire, what is it, like 3,000 miles or something like that?
7,000
miles,
Yeah.
and which is totally insane if you think about it. And this shock right here, which is for an ATV, is this the shock that went through three?
This is not it, but it's the same design, which is a GP4. So it's racing application, and so you see the size of the rod. This is designed to endure hell 24/7. And we had customers who came back from Paris to Dakar and say, "Hey, can you revise the shock, change the oil and do everything in it? And we open them, look at them, and there is no need, even after one Paris Dakar, there is no need to change anything. There is no wear, there is nothing changed. So give it back to the customer, make it look good, but that's it. 3, he came back, that was a good test for us.
Yeah.
Because the same pair of shocks did 3 Paris to Dakar without any.
That's like 20,000 miles under extreme heat, sandblasting, and we're talking whoop-de-doos the whole way, man. It's gnarly.
And you see, even the ball joint, nothing moved. So you see, those also are protected, so the dust cannot get in.
That's the ultimate acid test.
And also, they are very light because they all.
This one has the piggyback reservoir on it. What does this do?
So this one is pressurized because it's a racing application.
Okay.
And this one can move up to 4 meters a second of travel, which is a very, very fast acceleration.
Yep.
So this one is pressurized for racing application.
Okay.
And because it's a ATV, you have a long travel.
Yep. So not just for Harleys, they make these for. I couldn't believe when I went on their website. Is it 5,000 motorcycles?
Yeah.
And ATVs?
Yeah.
I think you even make shocks for golf carts too, don't you?
Yes, for golf carts, for.
Want to pimp out your golf cart? They'll hook you up.
Aviation trolleys and stuff like that.
That's awesome. So pretty much any two-wheeled motorcycle you have, even vintage bikes too, which will definitely put some of these shocks on some of the vintage bikes. We have bikes that we've sold to guys that are competing out here in the vintage rally.
Every year we get around 80 motorcycles in the shop to develop the shocks.
Wow.
Because we can't, what we learn is that you cannot take a stock shock and say we just have to duplicate it and apply our technology. We find out that, hey, we can find more travel. We can find a better comfort. We can find a better range of spring. So we went away from duplicating what everybody does because you're going to do the same thing, so there is no point. Yeah. But if you take a motorcycle and you measure everything, you put it in the dyno, you check everything, the weight, the balance of the bike, at acceleration, when you brake and everything, now you have real data that you can integrate in your new design, and when you come up with the shock, you have something that, top of the line. So that's what we do for every motorcycles that come on the market. Not every, but most of them.
I want to show you guys the Öhlins. We've been an Öhlin dealers for I don't know, over 15 years. We've been a Legend dealer for the last 3 years. We use Legend on this build. We use Legend on the FXR we just built. And then the FXR before that, we used Öhlins. So we've been using mostly Öhlins and Legends. So I'm excited to have an option that is actually a step up. The reliability is second to none. The performance is second to none. And this is the first time they've been offered in the United States. We are going to be a dealer for EMC, so give us a call if you're interested. And I don't have the final pricing yet, but they are going to be priced less than the Legends and the Öhlins. So it's going to be an excellent value. And these are totally serviceable. They will repair the shock for you, ship it back to them. If there's ever an issue, they'll repair it, whereas Öhlins is no longer offering that service. If you have an Öhlins that blows up, unless you have a friend who's a suspension guy, you're pretty much, it's a disposable shock. And I don't think Legends is, I had to double check, but I was told that Legends not doing service anymore on their shocks unless you're one of the superstar guys that they're sponsoring. The other thing too is not only shocks, but they also do the fork kits if you follow the channel, we're building a Bagger Racing League replica Road King with a 164 horse engine and top of the line suspension. And that's the first bagger that we're using the EMC suspension on. And one of the things we had trouble with the forks is Öhlins does not offer a cartridge for 2-inch over, and you got to extend the forks, otherwise you'll drag your floorboards going around the corners. You have to raise the baggers because it's so low. So, and Legend offered a 2-inch over, but in order to adjust the preload compression on the Legend, you had to actually pull the fairing off, pull the nacelle off, dismantle the whole front of the bike, which is an absolute disaster of a project. It takes hours to do it just to change the preload dampening. So if you're out on the track and it doesn't work, you got to pull it apart to do it again. And that's with racing, that's what practice for. You go out and you adjust it. The track, if it's rougher than the track the week before, you want to increase your preload. You can do that with the EMC solution. It's externally adjustable for compression, rebound, and also the spring preload. And they have the 2-inch overs. So
2-inch or whatever, because we do everything custom, we do everything in-house.
Yeah.
So if you call us and you said, I want it lower, I want it longer, we'll do it. And the adjustment, you can adjust everything by hand on the bike, like you said, from the top cap of the fork.
Yes.
And that's, like you say, very easy. It's done in no time.
Guys, you know I love Sportsters. My company logo for the museum is an Ironhead Sportster XLCR, and I built some really cool cafe racers, some off-road Sportsters. But working with Christian and EMC, we're going to start building a lineup of off-road Sportsters. Wait till you see these things. I'm talking 16, 17-inch shocks, inverted forks, special mounts for the foot pegs, crash protection underneath. We're going to be able to build Sportsters that can huck double jumps. So if you like that kind of content, stay tuned. He's already done a whole bunch of them. He's no beginner in this. In fact, he owns 3 off-road Sportsters, which I hope to get my hands on, because I'd love to do videos on all 3 of them. And 1 or 2 of them might be coming up for sale too, and they are master crafted by the engineer himself. And if you do some research on Christian, I was up at Rossmeyer Harley Davidson. He actually is a motorcycle designer and builder. He built over 200 custom hand-built V-rods for Rossmeyer Harley Davidson back in the day. Him and his wife ran that business, and he also built several. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a soft tail frame with a half of a Corvette engine. It's a V4, and it's a 250 horsepower. And we'll put the picture of it in here, because I took a picture at Rossmeyer yesterday, so we'll put this in the video. But so here's a guy that can design bikes from the ground up in custom engines. So and he's been doing suspension for 20 years, and he's not the only mad scientist over at EMC. The owner of the company is a suspension engineer, and they're finally bringing this to the U.S. The suspension is going to be available here. I'm pretty excited about that. So we're going to be doing some cool stuff, some next level off-road suspension, drifter cross suspension, Bagger Racing League suspension, and yeah, we're gonna have a special offer for the first 10 sets that come out. I gotta talk to Christian about it, but we believe in these shocks so much. I want to offer a money-back guarantee, so that if you're not happy with them, ship them back, because if they're not better than the Öhlins and the Legends you have now, I'll buy them back off you. So the first 10 guys that want a set of these shocks, and there'll be some preliminary pricing. We want to get some guys out there in the Bagger Racing League and in drifter cross running these shocks. So we built this bike as a replica of Brendan Baptista's number 3rd national. He got a 3rd in the nationals last year. Went to all arounds, and this is the exact spec that he built his bike on. We're going to build one with EMC suspension and let him ride it and see what he thinks. So he's actually sponsored by American Suspension. That's another company that does high-end racing suspension, and he's building one of the new Nightster Sportsters. But stay tuned for some killer Sportster content. We're also going to be building a couple of the Dynas. Mr. Turbo himself has a Dyna. It's all pimped out with the Legends and the 2-inch over gold forks. We're going to do a back-to-back test with that in the EMC shock. And also Andrew, one of our ATECs, he's got a Dyna. We're going to hook his up. So, but we want to get some of the top pros on these too, and let them try it out. Let me show you the Bagger shock, the Öhlins. This is the hottest shock that Öhlins has on the market right now. These are expensive. They're like $1,400. This is a brand new 2024 CVO ST Bagger, and it's the 121 high output with inverted forks, the Brembo disc brakes, all the carbon fiber. So, but the shocks that they come with aren't that good. They're Showas. They're a production version. But so I wanted to upgrade to what was the best on the market, the Öhlins. The thing with the Öhlins is that they haven't changed their technology in years. And if you take a look at this Öhlins shock and an Öhlins from 10 years ago, they're virtually identical. Öhlins was sold. They're no longer doing service for them. If they blow up, they're basically a disposable shock. And if you compare the shock body, again, you're looking at an 1.5 inch shock body compared to over 2 inch. If you look at the beefiness of this shock, the Öhlins just pales in comparison. It doesn't have the spherical bearings in there. It doesn't have the high-low speed adjustment. It is a nitrogen charged shock, so you're going to have issues with cavitation. It's not going to respond to the bumps. And let's face it, this is a Bagger. You're out there riding with your wife on this thing most of the time, and you want it to react to the road. If you look at the shock body on this thing, it's so much beefier. there is a option for this shock. This is actually a Sportster shock. The bagger shock, if you look at the last video, EMC video, has a remote adjustable spring preload that you can adjust without removing your bags. In fact, that's what these caps are for over here. Which shock is this?
So that will be for a bagger.
Oh, that's a bagger shock?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This one have just one control, but
Yep.
you can have it two.
Yeah, you can. How long is this shock?
I think it's a 13.
13? Yep. Yeah, it's the same length as the Ohlins. They're also available in 14-inch. You can see it's a much beefier shock. Ibach spring. Even the winding on the spring is totally different. And like Christian said, if, they've been making constant improvements in 500 racing championships in amateur and pro racing. They've done the Paris-Dakar rally multiple times. So it's a race-proven shock for not just Harleys. If you've got a vintage Japanese motocross bike and you want a killer set of shocks, they have an application for it. And just to give you an idea, the different anodizing, this is the gold. You can get your stuff anodized blue. What other colors do they offer?
Black. We have black. We have chrome. We have gold, aluminum. You pick.
I know how I am when I'm building a bike. I want the theme on to all carry together. So if you have a theme on your bike where you're doing gold, or you want to do it in blue or the aluminum, they can do that for you. And we can even custom make these stickers for you if you want them to match, like we did on the Legends. We do that in house. Christy's been doing graphic design for 30 years. So what do we have in here?
So here it's some parts, show you how those shocks are made. So when I was talking about the absorption system, this is where we laminate the oil with the valve. So the knobs that you have here, see, this is this piece. So there is 26 position. We always deliver the shock knowing that how much the weight of the rider and so on. We tailor the shock ready to go, so you don't have to deal with anything. You just install the shock. We set those up halfway. So there is 26 click on this knob, 26 on this one. We put it at 30. So what does that do is that inside those two holes, there is two barrels, and there is a valve here and a valve there, one for the low speed, one for the high speed. And when you turn those knobs, what you do, you make that valve harder or softer to open.
Okay.
So it's a very basic design, but it works very well. And like I said, the lamination occurs here, not inside the shock in the piston, and there is no cavitation. So this is the shock head.
So what happens to the untrained suspension guys? What does cavitation cause?
Cavitation, what we do on a shock absorber, we have oil that limit the speed of a piston in a chamber, this chamber. We limit the speed because the oil needs to go from one side of the piston to the other side of the piston. So you have a small hole, and the time for the oil to go from one side to the other side, that's it. You're absorbing, you're slowing down the process of a speed of movement.
So it makes it harsher? When cavitation would make it a harsher suspension?
Cavitation, when you suck like this, the rebound, when you do this, you create vacuum behind the piston.
Okay.
Now there is no more oil. So your valve work in emptiness. So they're not effective.
Okay.
That's why when you... Daytona.
All day. Try to confiscate my bike, son. You'll be walking today. We're going to have a problem. You better bring about 6 guys with you.
So cavitation is the nightmare of any shocks because it just, you have a shock, and if it cavitate, you have a spring. So you bounce back, there is no more shock. So by getting away from sucking the oil and laminating it here, we don't have cavitation. We go around the problem of cavitation.
This just to point out, this is the black anodized shock body. We can go all black. We can do black on the is it a cable that connects this, the adjuster? What is it?
This is the preload of the spring. So also the good thing that we do have is a function that we don't have on the Ohlins. The Ohlins have a canister for the pressure, which is, they are here, but they don't do anything besides capturing pressure. When we have those with the canister is actually your preload of the spring.
Yes.
Meaning if you go alone or with your wife or whatever, a passenger, you can tighten your spring by turning this knob. So basically you have this guy with it's going to be somewhere here, and if you have a heavier load, you just crank up your spring load. On these shocks, what you have to do is spring this, so you have to remove your bag. It starts to be a job. And
So the line that connects the two is available in silver or black, right?
yes,
Because I know you guys, you're building a bagger custom, you might not want that silver line. I don't like the way it looks in silver. I'd rather have it be
yeah,
black,
on this
actually.
bike it should be black.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
This is a feature that you don't have on those shocks, and they allow you easily to make it harder or softer on the spring.
So totally custom, any length. Also, when you order your shocks online and they're drop shipped directly to your door, you put in what you weigh on there, how much, what kind of aggressive riding you're doing, or if you're just, you know, doing mostly touring, and they can customize the shock. So when you get it, it's going to work without any adjustment at all. Just put it on and go. So whether you ride with a passenger, 50% of the time, that's all part of the design. I want to show you the shock shaft because it's one of the biggest, beefiest ones on the market.
So we do everything in-house. We select the best steel for the application, and usually in the shock industry, the finish is chromed and rectified with a grinding process.
We have the ability to edit it now, thanks to Tyler, so don't worry about it.
So we select the best steel for
Yeah.
the application,
Yeah.
and usually in the industry they chrome and the centerless, it's called a grinding surface.
Yeah.
We do it twice. So why? Because we figure out and saw that when you do it only once, you chrome the part and you grind it, but it's very hard to control how much chrome you have left and
Yeah.
what's make the surface very good for the seal and the oil to not leak. It's the correct amount of chrome and the correct surface finish.
Okay.
So to achieve the best that we need to have, we end up to chrome, grind, re-chrome, regrind, and we have those that last forever. Why? Because there is more chrome, and chrome, as you know, is harder than it's hard chrome. It's harder than regular steel.
These are the actual bushings for
Yes.
mounting the shock.
So we use only one brand of ball joints, which are SKF. Why? Because experience that we learn, they are the best. They don't die. They are lubricated for life, so you don't need to intervene and you don't need to grease them whatsoever. And on any shocks we make, we already put the spacers for your application, and behind each spacer there is an O-ring. So this O-ring gonna keep the dirt and dust to get captured between the ball joint and the spacer, and it will keep the ball joint to die prematurely, like you have here.
So we got the best performance, the best reliability, and as far as serviceability, these will last forever. It's pretty much a lifetime solution because they're totally rebuildable. So I don't see any reason why your next set of shocks shouldn't be an EMC shock. Mine are. So guys, please hit the like and subscribe. Also do the notification button because we're going to be putting out some killer content from Daytona, including the Supercross and the Ricky Carmichael Amateur and Vintage Supercross. It's going to be a great week here. Christian, thank you for coming down and educating us on shocks. I know I learned something today.
Anytime, guys.
So we really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and God bless America.